Hey there, and welcome to Family Revenge. We're so glad you're here. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can stay with us for every twist and turn. Let's jump right in. I was standing on the patio of our flagship spa in Napa, watching a line of luxury SUVs roll up for the morning appointments, when I realized none of these people knew who I was. And the truth was, neither did most of my family. My name's Anna Carter. I'm 29 years old. I live in Los Angeles, and technically, I'm the future of Carter Wellness Resorts, the empire my father and brother built their egos around. But I'm not the face you see on the covers of Modern Hospitality or on stage at those fundraisers in Beverly Hills. That's all Ben and Richard, our father, pulling the strings behind the scenes. I'm just the one with the MBA and finance degree who gets told to stay in her lane. Carter Wellness is a household name in wellness circles. Yoga retreats in Sedona, detox centers in Big Sur, meditation apps that bill your card before you finish your first breath. It's all sleek marketing and spiritual BS with a $1,200 price tag. The media eats it up, but no one sees how fake it really is behind the scenes. I grew up watching my dad treat employees like pawns and my brother treat me like one. When I finished at Stanford Business School, I came home thinking maybe, just maybe, I'd get a seat at the table. Instead, I got used for some spreadsheet cleanup and told, Ben's more of the visionary type. Only one person ever saw me. My grandmother, Evelyn. She used to say, let them play their games. You build something solid, and it won't matter who notices. Evelyn didn't play favorites. She played smart. That's why, after that whole mess with the family friend who tried to siphon off money through one of my accounts, I started locking things down. Separate passwords, decoy accounts, firewall on firewall. My own savings, protected 6 different ways. Evelyn was the only one I told. She was proud of me for not being a sucker twice. Now I've got a shot. A pitch meeting in San Francisco with a private equity firm looking to invest in wellness tech. This could finally be my thing, my way out. No Carter branding, no family strings, just me and a strategy I built from scratch. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. My flight leaves tomorrow. The deck's ready, the numbers are solid, and for once, I don't need anyone's approval. Not Richard's, not Ben's. And I sure as hell don't need anyone thinking I got here off our last name. I shoved my laptop in my carry-on and zipped it hard. No more second guessing. Tomorrow, I'd finally get to prove I was more than a shadow in this family. I was sitting at Gate 58B in LAX with my blazer folded over my lap and my pitch deck open on my phone. My earbuds were in, but I wasn't listening to music. I was reciting numbers under my breath like I was prepping for a final. Valuation breakdown, projected revenue, competitor gaps. I'd rehearsed this pitch so many times, I could say it backward. This was my shot, and I wasn't leaving anything to chance. Then my phone lit up. Dad? I let it ring once before answering. Yeah? Don't embarrass us, he said, skipping hello altogether. Whatever stunt you're trying to pull in San Francisco, keep our name out of it. I stared at the tiled floor, heat crawling up my chest. It's not a stunt, Dad. It's a business pitch, and I'm not using the family name at all, by design. You're a Carter. You don't get to just shed that because it's convenient. These people will smell desperation. It reflects on all of us when you flail. I'm not flailing. You weren't ready to lead anything 10 years ago, and you're not ready now. Stick to the back office. Let Ben and me handle the real work. I hung up without saying goodbye. My jaw was locked so tight I could feel it in my ears. 2 minutes later, a text buzzed in. It was from Evelyn. Just a simple message. You've already earned this. They'll see it. Love you. That snapped something loose in me. For a second, I felt free, lighter, like maybe I really was finally breaking out from under them. They called my boarding group. I stood up, pulled my carry-on behind me, and that's when the phone rang again. Dad, I picked up, still walking. I'm boarding. His voice was strained this time. It's your grandmother, Evelyn. She fell stairs or something. She's in critical condition. They've taken her to Mercy General in Sacramento. I stopped in the middle of the boarding line. What? They said it's bad, head trauma, internal bleeding. She needs surgery now, Anna. We need to wire funds immediately for the specialists. What the hell? She was fine literally 10 minutes ago. She texted me. That was before she collapsed? Do you think I'd call you if this wasn't serious? I need access to that emergency account you set up, the one you told me about after the friend incident. My heart was pounding in my throat. Why can't you cover it? I've got capital tied up. It'll take hours to move. She doesn't have hours. Just give me the code. You put this system in place for emergencies. This is one. Or do you want her dying on a waiting list while you give me attitude? I turned and walked away from the gate, ignoring the people behind me. You're saying the hospital won't touch her without a wire transfer from me? Yes, and don't be stupid about this. I know you set up decoys and firewalls. This is life or death. Give me the real one. I couldn't think. My hands were shaking. I opened my banking app and scrolled to the decoy account I'd set up years ago. It had just enough to look real, not enough to ruin me. I'm sending the code, I said. You better not be lying to me. I'm at the hospital right now, he said. She doesn't have much time. I sent it. He didn't even reply. I stood in the middle of the terminal like I'd just handed over a loaded weapon. My stomach dropped, and for a second, I thought I might throw up right there between the Hudson News and the sandwich stand. Something felt off, too fast, too convenient, but I couldn't not act if there was a chance it was real. I checked my email, my texts, desperate for a second opinion. Nothing. Just the last message from Evelyn. No follow-up, no hospital, no nurse, just silence. The boarding door was closing behind me, my shot in San Francisco gone. I turned around and headed straight for the exit. I drove straight from LAX to Evelyn's house in Pasadena, barely stopping for gas. My hands gripped the wheel so tight my knuckles were white. I kept picturing her in a hospital bed, tubes everywhere, unconscious, maybe worse. But when I pulled up the driveway, the porch light was on, and the blinds were open. Inside, she was sitting on the couch, upright, healthy, reading a damn book. I killed the engine and bolted up the steps. I didn't even knock. Evelyn? She looked up, calm as ever, like she'd just come back from a walk in the garden. Anna, what on earth are you doing here, honey? My eyes scanned her from head to toe. No bruises, no bandages, just her reading glasses hanging low on her nose. You're fine? Well, yes, why wouldn't I be? A shuffle came from the kitchen. Then I saw him, Richard, holding a glass of scotch like it was just another Thursday night. You've got to be kidding me, I snapped. What the hell is going on? Richard's face went pale for half a second before he slapped on his usual smug calm. Anna, calm down. There was a miscommunication. The hospital called me and I misunderstood. Cut the crap. You said she was in critical condition, that she had internal bleeding. You made me send money. I thought, no, you knew I'd panic. You knew I'd do it if it meant helping her. Evelyn stood slowly and set the book on the side table. Her voice didn't rise, but it didn't need to. He lied to you, Anna. He used me. I turned to her. You knew? She nodded, eyes locked on Richard. He called me 2 hours ago, trying to get me to go along with it. Told me you had a decoy account, and if I faked an emergency, you'd hand it over without question. I told him to go to hell, Richard scoffed. You're twisting it. No, Richard, you're caught, Evelyn said. You weren't trying to help me. You were trying to steal from your own daughter. I felt like the floor shifted under me. My chest was tight, but I couldn't sit. I wouldn't give either of them that. So that's who you are now? I said. You burn your own kid for a few $1,000s? It's not just about money, he snapped, dropping the fake charm. It's about control. This family has a reputation to protect. You running off to play entrepreneur threatens that. I stepped closer. So you figured you'd rob me blind and blame it on bad luck? Think I'd just roll over and thank you for the lesson? He turned away like I wasn't worth answering. Evelyn walked over and touched my arm. I told him I wouldn't lie for him. I've told him no before, but this time he crossed a line I can't excuse. I swallowed hard, every nerve in my body screaming. I wanted to scream. I wanted to slap him. But instead I said, I sent you the decoy code, not the real one. So, congrats. You stole enough for maybe a couple dinners in Santa Monica. He froze, then he laughed. Short, cold. You think this game makes you smarter than me? No, I said. It makes me less of a coward. Evelyn stepped in between us. You've lost her, Richard. She's not yours to control anymore. I turned to her. I can't believe this is what it comes down to. She just nodded. Now you know what I've been dealing with all these years. I walked out, didn't say goodbye, didn't look back. As I got into the car, I realized my account was still secure. My plan had worked. But whatever illusions I had about family, about trust, those were gone. I got home just after midnight, threw my bag on the couch and went straight to my laptop. I had this weight in my gut I couldn't shake. I opened my banking app. The decoy account, sure enough, it had been drained. But what stopped me cold wasn't the missing money. It was where it went. 4 different transfers, all routed through obscure LLCs with names like Wellness Advisory Partners and Orion Growth Holdings. The same 2 states kept popping up, Nevada and Delaware. And right there in the registry metadata of one of the holding companies, Carter Investments, LLC, a shadow company I knew for a fact Richard had used before to shuffle money around. I stared at the screen, blood pounding in my ears. He was already laundering it. I grabbed my phone and called Rachel. She picked up on the second ring, even though it was after midnight. "You good?" she asked. "Number, I need you to look at something." Within minutes, I had the screenshot sent over. 10 minutes after that, she was texting me a full list of linked entities, half of which I'd never even heard of. "This wasn't just a one-time grab," she said on the phone. "He's been doing this for years. This is structured, layered. Like he's prepping for an audit and hiding in plain sight." "How deep?" I asked. "Deep enough that if he's caught, he's not walking away clean." I leaned back in my chair, fists clenched. The next morning, I got a call from the Carter corporate office. Dad's assistant telling me there was a mandatory family dinner that night. Of course there was. I showed up late, didn't apologize. Walked straight into the dining room at the Malibu property where Richard held all his little image-boosting events. The table was set for 10, but only 5 of us were there. Him, Ben, our mom, and 2 executives from the Scottsdale resort location. Richard didn't even wait for me to sit before starting in. "I heard you abandoned your pitch meeting," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. I sat. Something came up. Emergency. "Oh, right, the one you manufactured in your head?" The others at the table shifted uncomfortably. I didn't care. Ben stepped in, trying to play mediator. "Come on, Dad. She's clearly got her own plans. Just let her do her thing." Richard smiled like he was humoring a toddler. "Her thing involves sneaking off and pretending to be more than a glorified intern. This family doesn't run on fantasy." I stabbed a piece of grilled chicken with my fork and said nothing. He turned to Ben. Now he's got real potential. Vision. He's hands-on with the Scottsdale expansion. He understands legacy. Doesn't act like he's above it all. Ben gave me this awkward glance like, "Sorry, not my fault." But he didn't defend me. He never did. After dinner, I caught him near the kitchen. "You know he's bleeding the company, right?" I asked quietly. Ben shifted uncomfortably. "He's just strategic. It's complicated." "No, it's criminal, and you're letting it slide because you don't want to lose your spot." He looked at me like I'd slapped him. "I'm not against you, Anna." "Then prove it." He didn't respond, just walked away. I went home and opened a fresh folder on my laptop titled Leverage. Over the next week, I didn't stop. I pulled every public record I could, cross-referenced property names, vendor contracts, tax records. I hacked through all the polished corporate crap until I found what I was looking for: duplicate invoices, offshore payments, suspicious asset swaps between Carter Wellness and the shell companies. I documented every dollar, every link, every name. Rachel helped build a spreadsheet that mapped it all out in black and white. When I saw it laid out like that, it hit me harder than I expected. Our wellness empire wasn't built on peace and healing. It was built on theft, on manipulation, on people like Richard using people like me and thinking they were too smart to ever get caught. But not this time. This time, I had the receipts. I was knee-deep in tracing dummy invoices when my phone lit up. Evelyn. I hadn't heard from her since the night I walked out of her house. "Hey," I answered, guarded. "I think it's time we talked," she said. "You free?" 15 minutes later, she was sitting across from me at my kitchen table, pulling papers from an old leather folder like she'd been prepping for this her whole life. "I didn't want to drag you into this," she said, "but it looks like you've already been dragged." "What is all this?" "Proof, or at least the start of it. I've been tracking Richard's dealings since before your mother knew how bad it was. Offshore trusts, handshake deals with real estate brokers, fake consulting firms. He never thought I'd notice." I stared at the ledger-style notes she handed me. Handwritten dates, wire references, initials I didn't recognize. "You did all this on your own?" She gave me a sharp look. "I may be old, but I'm not blind." I watched him gut his own partners, funnel company funds into private accounts, and somehow spin it all like it was good business. He's been bleeding this family dry for over 2 decades. I just never had the right person to help me do something about it. I pulled my laptop over and opened the spreadsheet I'd built with Rachel. "Look at this. This vendor here, Silver Tree Logistics, he funneled almost $70,000 through them just last quarter. It shows up on the books as Staff Wellness Retreat Logistics. Want to guess what they actually are? Evelyn raised an eyebrow. Kickbacks? Exactly, fake invoices. Then payments rerouted to a shell owned by one of his college buddies. This isn't just bad accounting, it's a felony waiting to happen. She nodded slowly, taking it in. We can't take him down head on. He'll drag the entire company through the mud and spin it like you're the one with the grudge. I know. That's why I'm not going to the press. Not yet. I texted Rachel and told her to set up a meeting with her legal contact. I didn't say names, just that I needed someone with experience in corporate fraud. Quiet, sharp, discreet. Evelyn leaned forward. He's scared of you. That's why he lashed out. He saw you moving without him, and he couldn't stand it. Men like Richard don't know how to lose. I looked at her. And what about Ben? He's weak, she said flatly. Always wanted approval more than he wanted truth. Don't count on him. I took a deep breath. If this goes wrong, I lose everything. She gave me that same look she always did when I was little and scared of something bigger than me. If you don't fight, you lose yourself. The meeting with Rachel's lawyer was 3 days later, at a law office above a wine bar in Silver Lake. Clean, quiet, no signage, just how I wanted it. I handed over a thumb drive with everything Rachel and I had built so far. The lawyer, a woman named Davis, said 3 words after reading the overview. This is actionable. She laid out my options: whistleblower path, civil leverage, anonymous federal inquiry. It wasn't simple, but it was possible. Full exposure will scorch the whole brand, Davis said. But controlled pressure? That could shift the board, get him out without setting the whole company on fire. That night, I sat alone in my living room with Evelyn's folder in my lap and my laptop glowing in front of me. I wasn't scared anymore. He wanted me boxed out, forgotten, obedient. Instead, I was about to turn everything he built into leverage. I booked the conference room at the Carter Westwood office under my own name. No assistant, no approval. Just a 3 p.m. block with my father and Ben. I told them I needed 30 minutes. I planned to take every damn second. Richard walked in first, on his phone, barely looking up. Ben trailed behind, holding a cold brew like he was heading to a marketing brainstorm, not a reckoning. I stood at the head of the table. No coffee, no handouts. Just my laptop, a folder, and the drive that would flip everything upside down. You wanted a meeting? Richard asked, dropping into the chair across from me like I was wasting his time. Ben sat to the side, eyes darting between us. What's this about? I'm going to show you something, I said, plugging the drive in. And when I'm done, neither of you is going to pretend you didn't know what's happening anymore. Richard leaned back, arms crossed. This better not be about your little spreadsheet obsession again. I opened the first file. This is a payment trail from Carter Wellness to Orion Growth Holdings, a shell company registered under a trust linked to you. The invoice says it was for vendor consulting. The reality? That money got funneled into an offshore account 3 days later. Ben frowned. Wait, what? I didn't look at him. I clicked again. Here's another. Silver Tree Logistics. Supposedly handled event transportation, but they don't exist outside of 2 P.O. boxes in Nevada and a disconnected number. That money was routed through 4 dummy core before it landed in the same account in the Caymans. Richard's jaw flexed. You're making assumptions. You don't know the full structure. I looked him dead in the eye. No, you made assumptions, that I was too naive or loyal to dig. But I did, and I didn't do it alone. I slid the folder toward him. Inside, Evelyn's handwritten notes, Rachel's full report, Davis's legal analysis. Ben didn't say a word. He didn't have to. The look on his face was panic, confusion and fear wrapped into one. I don't know what you think you're doing, Richard said, voice sharp now. But walking in here like some undercover cop doesn't make you in charge. You're right, I said. But you're not in charge anymore either. He slammed his hand on the table. I built this company. I took it from nothing to global. You think you can just waltz in and tear it down because you're mad I didn't let you pitch an app? This isn't about the app. It's about what you've done with the money, the people, the trust this brand was built on. You're not a businessman, Dad. You're a fraud with a PR team. Ben opened his mouth. Anna! No, don't defend him, I snapped. You've known things didn't add up. You've seen the numbers. You chose to look away because it kept your seat at the table warm. He shut up fast. Richard pointed at me like I was some unruly employee. You want to destroy this family over a few creative transactions? You think dragging this into the light won't burn you too? The press will eat you alive. You think they'll paint you as the savior? No, Anna. They'll call you bitter, disloyal. You'll be the failure daughter trying to take down her successful father, I promise you. I walked around the table, stood next to him, and dropped the final report in front of him. Then maybe you should have thought of that before you lied, stole, and dragged Grandma into your con. Because I'm not backing down. Not now. Not ever. He stared at the paper like it might set itself on fire. I turned to Ben. This company's being restructured. Compliance, legal, financials, all of it. You can stay out of the way or help fix what's broken. But don't think silence makes you safe. Ben looked down. No pushback. No alliance. Just a coward avoiding the splash. Richard stood, slow and deliberate. You do this, Anna, and you'll never be welcome in this family again. I looked at him steady. Then I guess it's not a family worth being part of. He didn't answer, just walked out, slamming the door behind him. Ben followed, quieter, didn't look at me once. I sat back down and stared at the laptop. Everything was still open. The files, the trails, the damage. But it didn't feel overwhelming anymore. It felt like control. I didn't give myself time to breathe. The second that office door closed behind Richard and Ben, I was dialing Rachel. We're moving, I told her. I want the report ready for the feds by tomorrow. She didn't even ask what changed. Anonymous, right? Anonymous and bulletproof. We leak it wrong, he spins it. We leak it right, he burns. Rachel looped in Davis, and that night, we sat around Evelyn's kitchen table eating takeout and laying out every step like we were planning a heist, because that's what this was. Only the thief was already inside the vault, and we were the ones calling security. Evelyn poured tea like it was a regular Wednesday. I still say we should have taken him out 10 years ago, she muttered, flipping through a draft affidavit. Rachel looked up. If we release this to the DOJ, we stay clear legally. But media's trickier. It can't come from Anna. Even a whisper of her name and it'll look like a family grudge. I nodded. Then we go around it. Anonymous tips to the financial crime unit, followed by selective leaks to journalists I trust. Evelyn leaned in. What about the board? If they hear it from him first, he'll control the story. Let me handle the board, I said. They care about one thing, money. We give them proof that their visionary CEO is an anchor about to sink the ship, they'll turn fast. I drafted the report myself. Neutral tone, no emotion, just facts, dates, transfers, entities, signature trails. I printed hard copies and stored them in a locked safe at Evelyn's house, plus digital backups with Rachel under encryption. Then we started the leaks. First to an investigative reporter at the LA Ledger. Quiet, careful. She'd covered corporate fraud cases before and didn't play the clickbait game. Then to a second contact at Businessweek with ties to the SEC. We didn't give them the full picture, just enough to raise questions, start the engine. By the time the third article hit, Richard was scrambling. He issued a statement calling the rumors baseless attacks fueled by anonymous sources. That only made him look worse. Meanwhile, I worked from the inside. I started showing up at the regional offices under the radar, talking to HR, payroll, vendor liaisons. Found out multiple employees hadn't been paid overtime in over 3 months. Some hadn't had a raise in 5 years, while Richard was wiring 6 figures into consulting accounts in the Caymans. So I started fixing it. Pulled from my own reserves, got the overdue wages paid quietly, restructured a few internal policies under a temporary directive signed by legal. Just enough authority to make changes without needing Richard's signature. I didn't make noise about it. I let word spread on its own. You hear Anna Carter fixed payroll? Ben's out, she's running ops now. She actually shows up, talks to us like people. I didn't care about being liked, but respected? That mattered. By the end of the month, the whispers about Richard were louder than the press releases he tried to issue. The board was asking questions. Employees were talking to each other instead of looking over their shoulders. Rachel called me one night and said, "He's drowning in his own spin." "Good," I said. "Let him." I was still sleeping maybe 4 hours a night, living on caffeine and stubbornness. But I was in control. For once, I wasn't reacting to the mess. I was shaping the story, and the shift was visible. I walked into the LA office one morning, and for the first time in my life, someone from legal held the elevator and said, "Glad you're here. 6 months ago, I was the girl behind the scenes." Ben's kid sister, the intern with the attitude. Now I was the one holding the match, and Richard's empire was already smoking. It broke wide on a Wednesday morning. The LA Ledger ran the headline in bold black font: Carter Wellness under federal investigation for financial misconduct. I was sitting in the conference room with Rachel when the alert hit. She just looked at me and said, "Well, that's that." The story spread like wildfire. Within hours, cable news picked it up. Phrases like fraudulent accounting, offshore laundering, and executive misconduct were plastered next to Richard's face. He issued a statement through his lawyer, full of denial and legal jargon. It only made him look guilty. Ben tried to stay quiet. That lasted about 2 days. Turns out, his name was on a few approval chains tied to vendor payments. He hadn't touched the real laundering, but he'd been close enough to get scorched. The internet ran wild with it. Photos from our old charity events, sound bites from spa openings. Comment sections lit up with, "I always knew this was a scam," and "These wellness people are just crooks in yoga pants." But the part that hit hardest was the employees. One by one, they started talking. Former housekeepers, massage therapists, line cooks, office assistants. People who'd been screwed over for years finally found the nerve to speak up. Unpaid hours, ghost payrolls, favoritism, firings for asking questions. I didn't push it. I didn't have to. Once the floodgates opened, they handled it themselves. I focused on keeping the lights on, quietly renegotiated vendor contracts, froze accounts tied to Richard's side companies, set up emergency payroll to make sure no one missed a check. The board didn't even ask me to present. They called me into a closed session, and the chairman just said, "We're appointing you interim CEO, effective immediately. Legal recommends it. Morale demands it." That was it. No ceremony, no fake applause. Just a title I didn't need, but one I earned. I walked out of that meeting with my head high. Richard's old assistant nodded at me in the hallway, like she'd been waiting a decade to do that. Rachel met me by the elevators. "It's yours now," she said. "I know," I said. "But it's still a damn mess." She grinned. "At least it's your mess." That night, I stayed late at the office. Evelyn called around 10. "You're all over the news," she said, voice calm like she hadn't just seen her son dragged through national headlines. I didn't want it to end like this. No one wants it. But sometimes the truth doesn't give you a choice. I looked out the window over Wilshire Boulevard, headlights flowing like a river below. "I didn't think I'd actually make it here." "You didn't make it here," she said. "You took it. Don't forget that." She hung up. I sat alone, lights low, still wearing the same blazer from that morning. The building was quiet for once, and I finally let myself exhale. Not because I was finished, I wasn't, but because, for the first time, I didn't feel like I was fighting uphill anymore. The weight had shifted, and it was finally off his shoulders and onto mine. I showed up every day at 6:30, before the rest of the building even lit up. No assistants, no catered breakfast, just coffee in a paper cup and a list of things to fix. Vendor audits, payroll audits, open door policies. I ripped out the backroom handshake deals and replaced them with contracts anyone could read. I held meetings in the open. I made every damn decision transparent, and people noticed. At first, it was cautious nods in the hallway. Then it was real conversations, employees coming into my office, telling me things they'd been too scared to say for years. I wrote it all down. We reinstated overtime pay, canceled shady supplier deals, fired 2 execs who'd covered for Richard and replaced them with actual professionals. I didn't care if they liked me. I cared if they respected what we were rebuilding. The media turned slowly. Stories about the CEO daughter shifted into coverage about reform. Business Weekly called it the most rapid brand turnaround of the decade. It wasn't easy. There were days I wanted to walk out and never look back. But every time I felt that pull, I'd think about how hard I fought to get here, and I'd keep going. Evelyn came by every Friday, same seat in my office, same firm voice. "He's been trying to call again," she told me one afternoon. "Still thinks we'll hand it all back if he yells loud enough." "Let him yell," I said. "He's not getting a single inch of it." She smiled at that, tight and proud. We'd been keeping a close eye on everything. Any attempt Richard made to reach out to investors, we flagged. If he so much as sneezed in the direction of a board member, we shut it down. He underestimated both of us, and now he couldn't touch any of it. I stood by the window late that Friday, looking out over downtown. The city felt different from up here. Less like something to conquer, more like something to carry. The company name on the glass still said Carter, but it didn't feel like his anymore. It felt like mine. I thought back to the girl who used to sit at the same desk after hours, cleaning up spreadsheets while Ben got credit for every deal. The girl who kept quiet to avoid rocking the boat, she was gone. And I wasn't ashamed of the name anymore. I just wasn't hiding behind it. The weight was still there. But for once, I knew I could carry it.